whole.
What do you think?
So there is an issue here about how you attract and retain the best people to stand in Parliament across the political spectrum, unquestionably so. But what an exercise in shooting yourself in the foot, that you do all the serious work and then you come up with an idea like giving MPs a medal when they leave.
I think that's probably
the payoff
a bit...
is like the timing of saying you're going to give somebody a payoff in a cost of living crisis.
Exactly. Well, all of that to one side. There is a really serious issue here about, in the current political environment, how we attract the best people to stand for Parliament. We take that really seriously at the John Smith Centre. We want people to turn towards politics, to play an active part in it, to be part of shaping the future of their country. What I really hope this report is covering is things like the actual employment contracts of MPs, access to maternity leave, paternity leave, support to be the best employers that they can, to tackle the sexual harassment climate that we know exists in Westminster, so that we treat it like a regular workplace and there are rules and regulations that make it more like a regular job. And I think if we did that, we'd see an awful lot less of the abuse of power that we've seen in recent times.
But I'm not sure it is a regular job, and I think this is where you always end up with the thing, because we don't go in 9 to 5 and come home and leave it there.
Oh, lots of you go to other jobs.
You know,
That's something that could be sorted out as well.
Well, I mean, that aside, we come home, you know, we've all been elected into political office. We know it isn't just a normal 9 to 5 job. We know that actually the civil servants who work for us have far better terms and conditions. We know that we're put out there, and we know we get a level of abuse. And I think that there is a whole range of issues around encouraging people in.
Sure,
and I know that you're
like
trying
women,
to address that in
so one of the issues that we're looking at the moment is why so many women stand for Parliament and then leave at an earlier age with fewer years served. If we want to have a Parliament that looks like the country it seeks to represent, let's get serious about why that is. Basic maternity rights as a politician would be a good starting point.
Right.
There's an awful lot more to it than that.
I mean, MPs are on maternity leave now with proxy votes to cover them whilst they're away.
It's very recent. It's very recent.
I agree. But one of my colleagues has got a load of abuse from her constituents saying you should resign as an MP. I vote for you to do a job. How dare you take maternity leave? I mean, that
is another very worrying issue that's been going on for years, as you say, the abuse that MPs across the House receive. Do you think a more generous, as we say, we don't know the precise details, but do you think a more generous payoff or some sort of certainty or help for MPs who lose their seats getting new jobs might help attract people into Parliament in the way Kezia said and retain them?
I think possibly around getting some help for what comes next and acclimatising again to other jobs or training for that. But I think rather looking at the end of the process, you need to look more at the beginning of the process. How you actually attract. Westminster still feels very distant to lots of people. You know, when I was growing up, there weren't many people who looked like me in senior jobs in Westminster. Now we have a British Asian Prime Minister for the first time. Things like that do really matter because you feel that you have a place, you don't feel imposter syndrome. So looking at the beginning of the process, how you're attracting wider groups of people to something that they may read about or watch on the TV but don't really understand, I think is more important than what happens at the end when you leave.
Tracy?
Yeah, I think there's a fair point there about who do we attract, and there were only, when I was an MP, 2 Tracys in the House of Commons, which was quite a win, I think, working class names. But I think it's also about public service. Why do people become MPs? Because they want to serve the public. It isn't about a career step forward. It isn't about I'll just feather my nest and then I'll be able to get loads of consultancies when I leave. But I think there is something to be said for better terms and conditions and also support when you change direction. But having spent 3 decades as a freelancer, let me tell you, in the original gig economy as an actor, you do go from job to job, and so maybe I was hardwired to it. But I would say there are definitely great, exciting careers in local government and in devolution and all the many mayors that we're going to see across the country. So if you're leaving as a Member of Parliament, become a mayor. It's a fantastic job.
Let's have a look inside the chamber. Chris Heaton-Harris, there he is.